Living Seed Media brings to you God's Word, which is His comprehensive equipment for changing lives. May the Lord impact your heart as you encounter His Word. For further inquiry or counsel, contact Peace House, P.O. Box 971, Boko, Benue State, Nigeria. Telephone numbers 0703 0363659, 0703 7681198. Email address lsmedia@livingseed.org or visit our website at www.livingseed.org. Let us sit back and listen as the servant of God brings forth the word of life.
And we just continue from where my brother stopped. He has just told us the definition. I will continue with and then the classification of diabetes, and then even the etiology. And we start with I will just continue with the investigation. However, diabetes is increasing all over the world, and you cannot overemphasize when you talk about diabetes. In the olden days, we used to think it's not available, that diabetes is not among our people. But some of the things my brother has said, and which we will see why it's becoming now very common. We will gather money at times and go to the villages, but what we will see some people that are not, in fact, you will see like 40% of the people in the village. Before you really see, it's only in the cities, Lagos, Port Harcourt. But now, it's pandemic and it's all over the world. When one is that, and when we use simple analogy like my brother said, why are people diabetic? And it's just that there is something in us that we call pancreas. It's inside in your stomach. I know we are talking with different groups. So that place the pancreas has different rooms, and each secretes its own chemicals. The particular chemical in room B, we call beta cells, is what we call insulin, and even amylin. I will talk about amylin in terms of modern management now. That insulin, that room B secretes insulin. Every part of our body, is made up of cells, and they need food. And the food for most part of the body is glucose, especially the brain. The mother part of the body can use fat and protein, but mostly the brain only takes glucose. So these cells need insulin, and it's the insulin. And this, when you eat, these are if I use this as the cell, okay, I may not be able to see from the other, but in the other part, the glucose cannot enter your cells for body use. It is when you eat, it will be digested to glucose, and glucose will enter into your body, but it cannot enter the cells that needs it for you to grow, to gain strength. So it is that insulin. In the olden days, Yoruba will call it, you go and just get it in this. The alarina, that is the middleman or middlewoman that will be liaising between the two. That's what happened. That's exactly the scenario that plays out when we are talking about diabetes, when we are talking about the origin. The glucose body cannot enter your cells. The food for the cell cannot enter directly. It is the insulin that will attach to the glucose and take it to the cell. It is the insulin that will knock at the door of your cell. Who are you? Says, what are you here? And your food, and the glucose will enter. Insulin will come out. I hope we are getting the analogy. Anytime you don't now have enough of this insulin, all the glucose will surround the cell, but they will not be able to enter the cells. And that's why one of the definitions before, they call diabetes suffering among plenty. The food the cells will eat is available, it's around it, but it cannot enter the cells. So anything that will cause either the pancreas not to secrete at all, or will decrease pancreas secretion, insulin, that will affect insulin in any form or to affect its function, it will produce to high glucose in the body because the whole body will be flooded with glucose. And high glucose in the body, it distorts the body mechanism, distort the eye, distort the soldiers of the body that we call immune, it distort the nerve, it distort the kidney. That's why you see the effect is all over. See eye problem, hair problem, you see leg, and see maggot, all of them also running about to enjoy their own feel from that person's, from the sugar. We don't say sugar, we call glucose. I'll tell us the reason. So how do we now know that one is diabetic? My brother told us some of the clinical features. The next slide, please, on investigation. The thought about clinical features, person may be drinking water excessively, the person may also be passing urine excessively, but there are other conditions that can make person, we call them differentials. So we'll talk about blood glucose. When you talk, I will take the person's blood early in the morning before your food. It's not that when you wake up, you have gone from Boko to Ale, you come back at 12 o'clock and say, hey, I've not eaten today, I want to check blood glucose. That's not fasting again. These are some of them that brings error in people's result. It's when you wake up in the morning at 6, even before you brush your mouth, you take it off, later 7 should be done. If you say before food and the person gets 7 hours, but with symptoms, my brother told us, that person is likely diabetic. Another system you can use random blood glucose. Maybe you have eaten, you have gone here up and down, and it's 11.1 plus the symptoms. The person is diagnosed. Part of the modern thing, because of the update we are talking about, if you have your glycosylated hemoglobin, before we use this one to monitor, but in about 4 years ago, American Diabetes Association, they brought it and it's been accepted worldwide as a means of diagnosing diabetes mellitus. And there are some people who use oral glucose tolerance test for. While we use it for those who are pregnant at times, we use it for if the result is in between, because the normal blood glucose is 4 to 6. That's general. In some countries, they use 3.5 to 5.6 like America. 6.1 to 6.9 is impaired. That is, be careful, this thing is coming. And then 7.0 and above is diagnostic of diabetes. Some people will stay in between. If they are in between, it's impaired. Do we treat? Do we not treat? We will see what we do. If you do some people 20 times in a day, you meet it, it will not be normal, it will not be around 7. And this is another challenge. So they are also one of the groups that you do oral glucose tolerance test. People with family history of diabetes, that father is diabetes, but even if the person is normal, go and do OGTT for that person. If you have a poor obstetric history, even if the blood glucose is normal, go and check, go do OGTT for them. It is when you do OGTT, we now bring the real picture, whether it's to manage the person or not. If somebody, this test can be done like fasting lipid, that is cholesterol, should be checked because not only because cholesterol can affect the management and can be one of the reasons that predispose the person to diabetes in the first place. This test, electrolyte and urea, can help us to screen for glucose and to see how the chemicals are working in the body and whether the kidneys are also being affected. Often these are the things that kill person and not even the diabetes, because often we just focus on the glucose, which we use sugar in this setting, but it is glucose. So whereas we don't look at some of these, especially electrolyte and urea. Next slide, please. So the fasting lipid, when you do fasting blood glucose for every patient, we must do the 2 hours. We see people, they will just do fasting. When they will just come, it's wrong. Medicine has moved far away from them. Some people, the first glucose in the morning is normal. But the 2 hours, you may get fasting before. 2 hours may be around 20. You just see that sort of person will come down with complications, be wondering, why is it? If they found, modern medicine has found that these are this aspect that even causing complication in people. And the person will not know. It may come with DM food, may come with renal failure, because often we don't check. We just check fasting and we'll go. So you must check the 2 hours, which you call 2 hours. Person would have taken this fasting. Person who eats, if the person on dog he or she takes his or her drugs, and then 2 hours after the meal, you check. That is what we call 2 hours postprandial. That is when it is 11.1 and above is not good. The other investigation, depending on the person presents, must also be done. Anybody is having diabetes and is coming to hospital, you are saying for the person, he or she must go and check his or her eyes. We don't wait until they develop retinopathy nowadays. Unfortunately, it's one of the things we do, and at times we also don't tell them. We also must go and see nutritionist or dietitian. We will counsel them, but the dietitian also will have time to sit down with them. So because it's a multidisciplinary approach in terms of management. Next, please. This is just one of those things that who are going to be screened. If the child or mother is diabetic, screening. If the person is having hypertensive, some may have cholesterol that is bad. You see, the person is screening. Or you have big, the person is away, the person should be in. So these are some of those things that we can do, even for children and for the adult. Next slide, please. So this is the recommendation also in the children. If the mother is diabetic, if the person having gestational diabetic, I will touch something. That's the person that is pregnant. My brother told us the other time that diabetic can be type 1. We don't say insulin dependent again. If you have thrown it away, if you mention insulin dependent, they will ask you, people ask you where you are still coming from. We say type 1, and we also call it type 2. That type 1 is usually we see in the children. Like I met the example I made the other time, that pancreas is not secreting insulin at all. And it's found that the person developed enmity against the insulin. You know, we call autolysis syndrome, that what they use for health workers conference about 2 or 3 years ago. That's what happened in this case. The person just developed enmity against some part of the body. So people develop against this beta cell and just kill their own beta cell. So the person cannot secrete insulin again. Where glucose that is coming to the person's body will just be flooding all over the body. That's where the person has type 1. Type 2 is that the person is secreting, but it's not enough. Or the one that is secreting, the body does not understand it. Like I told you, use the example, the other analogy that insulin will come and knock at the door of the cells, open for me. And the cell will open and they will bring glucose in. There are some people, insulin will knock. And insulin will say, yes, I don't know you, leave this place. So, and you know, say, I am the one. I say, I don't know you, leave me and my friend. So that's what happened. That's what called resistance. They are producing, they even have more than enough insulin. But the thing has refused to recognize them. That's what we see in the adult. I don't know how many of us have done it before. You carry your car to, and it's the same key or the door, the same key you used to open the door when you were locked down where you are going. And when you came in, the thing refused to open again. You may have to need to go and remove that door. Happened to me, I went to my friend's place. Dr. Mo, when I now greeted him, they accompanied me to the car. I did big boy, went into my car. I opened, the thing even refused to enter. To throw the car away from the place. That's the resistance. It happened in the body. That's the one commonly we see in the adult population. That's where the management also differs. There is one, the gestational diabetes, that there is what we call diabetes in pregnancy and gestational diabetes. Pregnancy and diabetes. That is, person is diabetic ab initio. So it's a different thing from gestational diabetes. Gestational, you know that with that person. But when the person just gets pregnant like this, you will not find that the person after, you will not see the person diabetic, especially second or third trimester. There are risk factors for that one, which we may talk about. So another group is those people, they don't have type 1, they don't have type 2, it may even be a man, so it cannot be having gestational diabetes, so it cannot be pregnant. So, but those people, something, whether the insulin is not working or something damaged the pancreas, or there is cancer, or they have accident, which you have to remove the pancreas, or drugs, especially some of the drugs for HIV. One of the big effects is that they predispose to glucose intolerance and people with diabetes. This one we put them under, we call specific type of diabetes. We may need to talk on some of this. That's why I'm saying this. Move on, please. Next slide. Who should we manage? Or who should be treated? And when do we stop? In our management, we decide who to manage and when to stop. Because we've seen people, they collect drugs. After the thing going, the thing maybe it's 2018, comes down to normal 4, 5. Only after time they disappear from clinic. When you are seeing them the next time, they come with renal failure. What has happened? That happened to you? Saying the thing was okay. See, they have stopped there. Somebody told them to stop their drugs. So should we stop? We need to talk about it. And education. One of the things we need to manage somebody with diabetes is education. You can see medication is like the number 4 or 5. So medication is not the first thing. Unfortunately, what many of us are running after. Hey, give me drug, I want to go. First is to educate you. Then we talk about your advice. Talk about lifetime modification, exercise, and weight loss. Which you don't do. Doing this one at all, ordinarily may even take the DM away. May make the blood also come down. So you may not even need drugs, or if at all you will need drugs, it will be merely very reduced. So medication is not the first. Even the person is coming in emergency. Go and be giving the person insulin is not the first line of management, especially some of us that are maybe the only one in our area. That's why I'm saying this. So what, next slide. Who to be treated? Those that meet the diagnostic criteria we earlier mentioned, or having blood glucose, and it's obese. With obesity, we talk about, we use common, there are different things we use to measure obesity. But the one that is easy for us is what we call body mass index, though it has its own flaws anyway. And the body mass index, your weight and your height. Your weight over square of your height. If the person is 70 kilograms and the height is 1.52, it means 70 over 1.52 times 1.52. Whatever you get will give us whether you are obese or not. Less than 18.5 is underweight because your weight can be too small. And it has its own health challenges also. 18.5 to 24.9 is normal. 25 to 29.9 is overweight. That be careful, the thing they come. Then 30 and above, that's when we are talking about obesity. You can afford that breakdown obesity. Whether it's mild, moderate, or severe. 30 to 34.9 is mild obesity, 35 to 39.9 moderate, and 40 and above is severe, or some call it morbid, extreme obesity. And they will determine you manage or not. If the person is obese and is having impaired blood glucose, more than they say, you should start managing the person. Or is obese and is impaired and is already symptoms of diabetes. You don't wait and he has not got, you should start treating, even with, especially with metformin. When to stop treatment? There is no curable treatment for now. We bless God, and some of us are working. By the grace of God, we will look for, I think I've shared with one of our brothers before, looking on how we will get cured. And we are working on it. We have things, but we'll be waiting for you, we're waiting European every time. So that I'm taking some of us back again to endocrine pharmacology and geriatric medicine, geriatric endocrinology, because we must be able to get things to cure. We have more than the time of herbs and to be able to get cure. And ourselves, and be the one to export the thing to other part of the world. I want you to do education. The first thing you're educating. Depends because we come now, it's witches and wizards. It's my brother that is doing me. It's my sister that is doing me. And this is how people continue. So somebody who lost about 40 pregnancies from just because it was saying that it is the elder brother, sister. So we were fighting, and all those people, no, that she was diabetic. And as soon as it was controlled, but she had to then quick succession. So I'm saying, educate the person. This is what diabetes is, the possible complication, how to manage diabetes, hypoglycemia. Because one of the biggest problems in managing diabetes is the blood glucose. And then also the possible side effect of the drugs. Every patient that comes, we must tell him or her the side effect of the drug. I will just carry the blood to the patient and tell me that he or she should be going. And then the possible preventive method. Explain the role of family if possible. Usually we cancel the wife with the husband. Or if this is the husband, we cancel the wife. If it is the wife, we cancel the husband. Or cancel the children. Because management of diabetes goes beyond yourself alone. And that's where we have complications and people die. Because people go and Yoruba say, that he hide me at home and I will kill you. Is the name of other name we call disease. So diabetes is one of the diseases people usually hide. And if you have hypoglycemia, for just 6 hours, we give the person irreparable brain damage. And it's a common thing. They will go to prayer houses when they have hypoglycemia. Those ones will collect the little money they have to go to one chemist. By the time they are coming, they are already vegetable. Even if you reverse the blood glucose, the person can never come back to life again. It will be a vegetable. So that's why I'm talking, and I will spend even 1 or 2 minutes to talk about hypoglycemia. Dietary advice. Your diet is a function of the quantity of your food, the quality of your food, the frequency, and timing. And you should take account individual and ethnic preferences and family habits. Diet is a function of the quantity, the quality, the frequency, and the timing. I will not be able to go, but there are questions I will go because each has its own. You can't be eating at 7, 8:30. If the person is even not diabetic, it's not good. It predisposes the person to hypertension and diabetes. When there's not diabetic, one has now to be more careful. That may be the reason why the blood glucose is not controlled in the first place. And just took some of those, the quality of your food. Do they contain your carbohydrate, fat, mineral, salt, fibers, water? They're supposed to still be part of the food that we have. Like my brother said, there is this scenario that, when you just have his beans in the morning, ekuru in the afternoon, money in the evening. One of the things that hyperproteinemia itself predisposes people to renal condition. That if your protein is not good. So people come with another disease in terms of, in addition to the one they are still battling with. So carbohydrate should be about 50 to 60, but it's the type of carbohydrate that are stake. Modern medicine now also don't say, you live liberally, but it is refined sugar primarily that would say people should not, should avoid. It depends that it's not even that we are encouraging people to avoid refined sugar as much as possible. Complex carbohydrates are very good. Cereal, legumes, whole grain, total protein, like to be about 20 to 25%, and then to 30% of the calorie of the food. Your body still needs your protein. Your body still needs fat. You can say I put carbohydrate there, 50 to 60. Your body still needs to have strength. That's why one of these people come to attack. The blood glucose control. They will tell you they are weak. Go and do it. They are weak. Go and do that. Go and do MRI. You won't see anything. The person is lacking energy. Just adjust the thing, you will see the person come up. And it's better to adjust the drug and get the person, and live the normal life. Like put the person in prison and the person be coming with complications and will not be able to enjoy it. So that's why even people run away. They will go and sit tomorrow and be eating the thing you said they not. I say, Papa, that will kill me. That he has been in prison to do it what he wants all these days. So now we find that it's not even much like that. But not that one is saying is free for all. The quantity of your food is important. I could not be able to talk about the glycemic index when we are talking about our food. Glycemic index and glycemic load. Glycemic index so that is a measure of how quick the food you eat, the food item releases the glucose is absorbed. And glycemic load is now measurable the amount of carbohydrate in the food and the amount consumed, how they will rate the blood. The glycemic load, depending on the side of the divide, some believe glycemic index is enough, some believe that glycemic, two of them, they are important because they're supposed to be to judge the quantity of the food, the calorie the person is going to eat. It's just, unfortunately, in this part of the world, you eat whatever you like. Even if you have label, you know if you are eat maybe one measure of this is the in it, this is the carbohydrate in it, this is the fat in it. But usually not. You can the food you want to eat and do it and get the appropriate one for yourself. Next slide. Next slide. So this is some of the food here. You can see soya beans. Why we say soya beans is good? It has fiber, it has roughages, and it doesn't increase your glycemic index. Next slide. The timing. I've told you that we should not eat late. Whether I know some of us we do because of our work, but no matter it is, we can avoid that. And the frequency. Some of the people that this is part of one of the things that help affect management. They will say, some of us will not be just the ones, and I eat to. I'm talking about frequency. You said, doctor, and now small. You may not be eating more than this, but may eat about 70 times in a day. By the time they add it will be about 2 times of my head. So and you will not say the blood will not go. Why will it be controlled? So your frequency is very important in what you are eating. The exercise is also important. You prescribe exercise. It's not that you come and tell me that I have bicycle, I have canoe at home, I have aeroplane at home. The management of diabetes is what is prescribed for you. That you the exercise itself does not cause too much reduction in your weight, but helps you in maintaining the weight loss, and also it helps with drugs, like my brother said. But exercise has to be precise. If your blood pressure is high, there are exercises you should more do. If your blood glucose is also very high, there are some you should not do. If you have renal problem, there are some exercise the person should not do. So it's not that you just have small change, you go and load your get one room, you put all sorts of gadgets in there, and you are riding bicycle. Even if you ride it, in the house, it's what is prescribed for you that you should use. The weight reduction. Weight reduction is very important. I told us small about it. It has non-pharmacological, pharmacological, and surgical method. Modern day now, bariatric is what is being used. In obesity conference in London last year, that was what was just discussed really. And one of the drugs that will still tell us, because they wanted it to come to under NHIS. We even brought the head of the UK NHIS, and we're talking about the cost. If not, the main thing, those who are very big and they are having obesity, found that bariatric surgery is the main thing. That if your medical treatment is not working, though there are indications for surgical method. We talk about, these are some of the drugs, some of them are new, especially in creatine, exeneta. They don't cause weight gain, they don't also cause hypo. Unlike sulfonylurea, some of them have been banned, like the one they call diabetes, crop up in my body. The thing everyone finds with Nigeria because of the danger associated with it. In the same country, the Glenbeckman has been banned. Metformin is the commonest of them. These are some thousands. If you are pregnant, if you are using contraceptives and the person is diabetic, if the person takes thiazolidine their own, the contraceptive may not work. The person may come with triplet in the next 9 months in the name of having. So the next slide, please. Next slide. I will deduct the time from my. These are some of the other drugs that and the recent one, sodium glucose co-transfer, this class taken as jump. These are novel things in the management of glucose of diabetes now. They do some of them, most of them. These ones are not in Nigeria, but incretins and DPP4 are already in Nigeria, and they are doing very, very, though they are a bit expensive. These are special management. Pregnancy. Please, in pregnancy, you use insulin. Don't use tablet. We have people who are giving anecdotal, that is individual, that they're using insulin. Are using some say they use metformin because a good number of them predisposed to malfunction. You can't pregnant 9 months. And some will now be and go and cause problem, child defect, mineral tooth defect, cardiovascular, cardiovascular, all because of something that is preventable. In children, it's a special thing. I told you the other time that a geriatrics management is a special thing. You don't manage the elderly one the way you manage a young person. Even the adults is different. There are some of the antibiotics you must not use for a jerry. So kidney disease like glycoside is that usually I do drug, but anybody with end organ damage, I built in its insulin. But if it's not too much, there are some we can use tablet for. So then COVID-19, that's one of the big casualties in COVID-19 is people with diabetes. Most of the people, and because of some of them, we may not be able to go through this thing because of the effect of that. Diabetes reduces the person's body immunity. So anything coming. So you're not having somebody with diabetes and having COVID, the person has to be on the run to survive. Next slide. So when managing people, one of the first things we should do is fluid replacement. Before your insulin, with fluid replacement alone, the blood will even come down. It's not the person come, all the cardiac blood, go and bring jar of, you now jump to him. Often it does more damage than good. So it is fluid replacement. Cancel the partner and the relatives. I've said that encourages patient. They find that people who are well counseled like that with the family, they do well, and they don't abscond from the clinic. Hypoglycemia, I mentioned, is very dangerous. It is when the blood glucose that we are seeing inside is too low. I told hypoglycemia for what? Just 6 hours will cause irreparable brain damage. Person can have diabetes for many years or months and will not come to clinic. They will waste my time. If you try that one, especially hypoglycemic, for 6 hours, you won't be the one to be telling the story again. So hypoglycemia has also, we must counsel the patient what it is and how to manage it. If the person can just take sugar or any glucose thing, that's the only time somebody that having diabetes can take mineral. Though I found that some of our patients, when you say, if you have hypoglycemia, take what I've seen some of our people, I've not seen horrible coke before you treat me. Papa asked me this horrible coke. I said, why are you taking horrible before you have hypoglycemia? He said, because I have not taken it for a long time. It is small. We say you should take. Baba will have finished a big bottle of coke in the name of hypoglycemia. So this, what of the traditional rollers? There is positive report from local health, but most of them has not been validated. So I cannot say we should take B on health. But there are questions on that one. We will clear it later. Next slide. I'm almost getting. So how do we monitor? These are the things we need to monitor every patient with diabetes. Next slide. 10 seconds to the last. Recent development. These are some of the recent development in terms of drugs that are now coming. The next slide, please. So these are still some of the recent developments. So these are complications, can be things that are happening and things that will happen later. So there are some you need emergency, there are some that will continue to develop later. Next slide. These are some of the complications that, how do we prevent? Is it preventable? To a large extent, if you are obese, reduce your weight. Don't say it's a sign of life. Or some people come to the clinic, doctor, what's your problem? They will say, that they want their bomb to come up, they want to become, they come to that. Usually, do you know the problem who have obesity, how they are fighting? You know, God has not, that is not your problem. You are writing letter to obesity. So if the person is obese, we advise to lose weight. Dietary discretion is the key. And these are some of those things the patient will also need to. So thank you very much.